Hi, this is Paul, and this is story number 5 in my short stories. I'll tell you about 1965-66. I'm pretty sure I have those dates right, yeah. I went off to college. Now, I have to tell you that I really wasn't a very conscious being. That's reality. I was just never, I just wasn't a conscious being. I kind of floundered my way through school from, preschool through through finishing high school. I never really put a lot of effort into school, just did enough to get by. Did all right on the college board so that, I looked decent on paper. I think I had a B minus average. I think I had 1600s on the college SAT scores. I scored high, relatively high, and even a specialization board in French. Had 3 years of varsity football, wrestling, and track. So on paper, I looked okay. But I was faking my way through everything. Even as an athlete, I was faking my way through it. I was smoking a pack of Marlboros every day and trying to be an athlete. Not a good combination. Not really preparing my work until the very last minute. But anyway, so I applied to a bunch of colleges, and I'm not aware of where I really want to go, where I might flourish, where I might find something. I just applied to a bunch of schools, and I decided to go into the best school that I get applied to. The best school I get accepted at is where I'm going to go. It turned out to be Colgate University in Hamilton, New York. I don't know, to this day, I don't know how I got in there. I think it was a much better school than I was a student. And so I go up there, and Hamilton, New York is a farm town in upstate New York. It's about an hour from Syracuse, and it's a farm town. The only thing that's there besides farm-related anything is the university. It's about 2,000 students, and I take advanced French because I'd done well on my French boards. They put me in like junior year level French, and I wasn't good at French. I couldn't speak French at all. I could read it pretty well, and I could fake it, but I really wasn't a good student. And some things happened that made it, besides not being a good student, some things happened that were really going to be my downfall at Colgate. One was there's no girls there. It was an all-men's college, and I was lonelier than lonely most of the time. Oh my God. And a second thing that happened, this is pretty funny unless you were my roommate or, well, I had a single, so unless you were my friends. I must have been allergic to the food there. Something happened, and I ended up with the worst case of gas I've ever had in my life. For as long as I was at that school, from the beginning of my entry there till the end of it, I had gas like crazy. I don't know what that was about, but it's just coming out. My stuff was coming out of me. Let's leave it at that. And I ended up taking, everybody's got to take phys ed, so I take swimming because I like to swim. And swimming was at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now that became a real problem because Colgate is in a very cold area. I mean, Syracuse, New York is like lake effect area, and we had a lot of snow. We had very cold weather. I would go, I was in the dorms on the top of the hill. The pool is down here at the bottom of the hill in the gym, and it was very cold. I mean, at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's really cold. And then when I get out of there, I don't really have time to dry off. I'm going to run to be at my 9 o'clock class, which is the third year French class. And my hair freezed. My hair wasn't real long, but it was longer than it is now. And my hair would freeze. I would take a shower, run out of the shower, get my clothes on, go up to the campus, which was really a pain in the butt to get to because you have to climb the mountain to get up, and climb the hill to get up. And I would be sitting in French class, and I would start to thaw. This is pretty fun. I would start to thaw out. And when you're thawing out, the water's dripping down your neck. And I was constantly in a state of motion for the first 15 minutes of the class, kind of just like thawing out. The water's dripping down. I'm trying to get comfortable. Well, the French teacher didn't like me. I didn't like him from the outset. I didn't like anything about this guy right from the gate. He didn't like anything about me right from the gate. We had an instant dislike for one another, and I wasn't smart enough to know in those days that you could drop a class. I figured I wasn't smart enough to know anything. I didn't know anything. I was a rube. I was absolutely knew nothing. So I tried to make it through this class. Well, I flunked every paper, every quiz, and every test that he gave. And not a good start. Now, in my other classes, I got maybe a couple of C's. That was it. I got 2 C's, a D, and an F my first year of college, my first semester of college. This is not a great start. That totals to be like a 114. Yeah, something like a 114 or something like that. Not stellar. And while I'm at the school, a couple other things happen. Is Colgate, when they have parties, is a beer drinking school, and I was a beer drinker, and I drank beer with the best of them, I think. All those other guys that could outdrink me for sure, but in any case, I was drinking too much on weekends. I had a single room, and the next guy over it had a single room. He was a Texas guy, a man from Texas who was a long way from home. I was a couple hours away from home. He was a long way from home. And every night he would play this really melancholy love song kind of music. Like, what was the name of the singer band? Johnny Mathis. I don't know if any of you know who Johnny Mathis was, but he used to play the sappy, he was a great singer. I can't do nothing with him, but I would listen to those songs and it would break my heart just to listen to him. And I know the guy next door had a broken heart. He'd be depressed and he'd make me depressed. I'd be listening to that music getting depressed. I'm all alone in this school. There's no women at all, and I'm lonely. And I had a girlfriend at the time, but she was in Boston, and so I couldn't get to see her hardly at all. Or I don't know if we did see each other at all. So I'm lonely. I'm on occasion I'll hitchhike to. There were 3 schools in the area that had girls. One was Syracuse University, which is an hour away. I knew some people that I'd gone to high school with, Dougie Roberts in particular, and Judy Robbins. And I think they were at the school, and I would go up and see them, and I would go over to Skidmore College, which was in Saratoga Springs area. That was 2.5 hours away. I'd hitchhike there occasionally. I hitchhiked there during Christmas, around Christmas time in December. That's how desperate I was to find a girlfriend. And I hitchhiked 2.5 hours there to a dance, and then hitchhiked home the same night. The dance was over around 11:30. At midnight, or somewhere around midnight, my friend and I think I was with somebody. I'm pretty sure I was with somebody. We were hitchhiking back to, hoping that somebody from Colgate would see us and give us a ride. It ends up that nobody saw us. It's snowing out. It's December in upstate New York. Saratoga Springs is also very cold. I don't have any socks on because my fashion was not to wear socks, which is, it was the fashion that I chose at the time. We ended up walking from midnight till about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning before we got a ride. We walked from Saratoga Springs. I can't remember the name of the town now, but we were on our way to Poughkeepsie, going south to Poughkeepsie, then we're going to go west on this highway back to Colgate. And at one time we found an all-night laundromat, and we stopped in there just to warm up a little bit. But basically, we were lucky we didn't die. At 7 o'clock in the morning, I think we got a ride pretty much all the way back to Colgate. But that was pretty unusual. That's dedication of sorts and insanity. Well, anyway, second semester comes, and I'm thinking, man, I'm on the probation already. It's not looking good. I've got to find courses that I can take that I can pass, and I have a science requirement, and I'm the world's worst science student. For me to pass a science course in high school, I cheated through one of my physics exam, somehow got through that. Well, didn't get through it. I got caught and then had to go to stand in front of the honor court. But I got through that. And then I had this course called Contemporary Science. It was a combination of genetics and astronomy. And I heard the word astronomy, and I like to look at the stars. I don't know. I didn't realize that astronomy was all about physics and math, and I'm terrible at those things. So I signed up for that. I signed up for a couple of other courses. I think I'm looking at my schedule going, I think I can pass these courses. I think I can do all right. Meanwhile, I have an advisor. Everybody has a student advisor. So my student advisor is this chaplain for the college. He's the chaplain for the whole college. And I go to see him because I'm depressed. I'm depressed about my grades. I'm depressed about my situation. You know, I think somebody who had some compassion or heart would have taken me aside and said, listen, can I help you? Maybe this isn't the right school for you. Maybe there's something else we should be doing. You know, be helpful to some way. I go and I sit down with him hoping that he's going to give me some light, show me something that's going to be helpful. And he opens up my documents, whatever I brought with me, or whatever he had, all my records, my high school student records. And he looks at me and he says, well, after what I've seen here, it looks like the highest grade you're ever going to be able to accomplish at this school is a C. And that's all he said to me. And that was it. That was the end of his giving me comfort. Was to let me know that the best I could ever do in school is to basically pass a class. Well, that didn't help. The winter was long, it was dark, it was cold, it was, devoid of any female companionship. I didn't really ever meet anybody. Oh, the third college that had women in the area was Cazenovia Junior College, which was a girls' college. It was probably about 45-minute ride from Colgate. And interesting enough, Nat King Cole's daughter went to school there. I never got a chance to meet her, nor did I meet anybody at anywhere. I did go to a mixer one time somewhere, and it was funny because I told you, I think these stories, it might be a little bit gross for you, but I hope you'll understand. I had a problem with gas. I mean, I had gas all the time. And I'm at this mixer, a mixer, you're a freshman. I'm the lowest guy on the totem pole. We're at a mixer with a bunch of girls. I'm pretty shy. I'm really shy, unless I'm drinking. And I remember being, we ended up meeting some girls, or we're at a mixer. The mixer part is a dance, and they have a little cafeteria, and they've turned it into a dance place, and they're playing music, and I get the worst case of gas I can ever remember having, and it hurts to have gas like this, and it certainly hurts to hold it in. And the music's playing, and I'm thinking, well, I've got to release this gas. At least the music's playing, so they won't hear me. And just as I let it go, they turn the music off. So I rip out this incredibly big fart. I mean, there was no chance I was going to meet anybody after that. I'm surprised they didn't ask me to leave. But this is kind of like my life. It's kind of like this haphazard life, that I'm going through. It's funny in retrospect, always. It's always funny to look back and see how silly and goofy it was, but living it wasn't very easy at all. Living it was a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. But anyway, the second semester is going through, and we're coming down to final exams, and I'm not doing well. I'm not, that science class, I haven't passed a single paper. I haven't passed a single test or quiz. And again, not being real aware and bright about what to do and getting any support. Instead of just blowing it off and saying, okay, I'm going to flunk this course, but I'm going to do well in all the other courses, I decide the guy who was teaching it, that was the other thing. This had been what was called a gut course. That's why I was taking this class. It was a gut course. And a gut course means it's easy. If you just show up, you'll get a C. Well, it turns out that the head of the department, this is so strange, the head of the department hears that this is a gut course, and he decides that he's going to teach this gut course the semester I take it. So it turns really bad really quickly. And again, I haven't passed a quiz, a test, or a paper since the class started. And we're coming down to the end of the year, and it's not looking good. And and he says, well, listen, we're going to have this. Now I'm going to help you. You're going to be able to bring in a cheat sheet. You can bring in a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper on one side with any pertinent information you want to bring in. We're in the genetics part of the class. So if 2 people have green eyes and the other 2 have blue eyes, and what are the 4 children going to have? To me, that was Greek. I'm just not bright around science, nor do I don't like it. I mean, there's nothing about it that I enjoy. I kind of enjoy brain chemistry now, but this is way back when. But I put a lot of effort into this. Now it gets even funnier and stranger because, like, maybe the weekend before, so my final maybe is going to be on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And on the weekend before that, I've been, I'm trying to get into this fraternity called Sigma Nu. Now, Sigma Nu, if you've seen the movie Animal House had nothing on Sigma Nu. Nothing. There were people in, and it was a strange house because there were people in there that were extremely bright, and everyone was crazy as a drunk or whatever. Ironically, they had the College Bowl, those kind of those quiz shows for college students, and then we had an intramural one at school, and my fraternity won. Now I joined this fraternity because it's the only one that they were a bunch of drunks, and all I had to do to get into this fraternity was to be a drunk. I mean, it was that simple. I knew somebody who was in it from the high school I'd been to. He was a year older than me. He was a year ahead of me. So I kind of knew anybody, and I'm shy, and I didn't want to work at getting, I didn't like rejection, and so I didn't try to get into any other fraternity. They were crazy in the hazing. They put all of us, there was about 8 of us hazing, and they put all of us in a closet one time and made us stay in the closet until we'd all smoked down a complete cigar. Well, the air in that room, I begged them to let me out. I couldn't stay in there. There's no way I could stay in there. I'm claustrophobic, so they let me out, and then they made me do push-ups, and it was just, hazing was horrific. At the end of our hazing, right before we were accepted, they took us out in a car and blindfolded us and told us they were going to drop us off somewhere, and they drove around for a long time, not hours, but for a long time. And I thought, we're never going to find our way back, never. But I didn't care. I just wanted to get out of the car. I just wanted to get away from them. It turned out that this was all a joke, and they brought us back to the fraternity house, and we completed our hazing. But anyway, final exams are coming up. My fraternity has a party. I drink way too much at the fraternity. When we had a fraternity party, on the floor of the fraternity party was what you might call a small flood of beer. There were inches and inches of beer on the floor, not an occasional puddle here or there. The whole basement floor, which was big, was 4, 5, 6 inches of beer. That's the kind of party it was. I mean, they had some great music. I did get to hear Big Mama Thornton and the Thornton Sisters, which were, I don't know if you ever get a chance to YouTube Mama Thornton. She can wail. Oh my God. So I enjoyed the dancing part. But anyway, I drank much too much. I've decided that, well, maybe I was confused, but it doesn't matter. At some point or another, I decided I'm feeling pretty, fit, which is nuts because I wasn't fit at all. Been drinking too much and smoking cigarettes. And I decided that I can do a somersault in the air and land on my feet. Now maybe if I had a trampoline I could have done that. But without a trampoline, I'm not that guy. I'm not a gymnast. I'm way overweight. That's not my thing. So I tried, and instead of landing on my feet, I landed on my coccyx bone. Now, I don't know if you've ever hurt or damage your coccyx bone, but it's a horrible thing. It's huge pain. I did manage to get back to my room that night, probably because I was drunk and wasn't feeling the pain. The next morning, I cannot get out of bed. I cannot walk. I cannot stand up. And I've drank probably more than just beer, and now I have diarrhea. So this story is a nightmare. I mean, I can barely walk. It's a couple of days before my final exam. I've got diarrhea, so it takes me forever. I have to shuffle like a little old man. You know how your feet shuffle like this? It's the only way I can get to the toilet. And each time I go, it's so painful. And now I've got to finish these finals. I've got to get ready for my finals. And I'm spending all my effort. The first test I have is the science one. I'm spending all my effort on the science one. And I'm spending all my effort on it. I took every chapter that we had that was going to be pertinent to this test and wrote the tiniest little notes ever on this one piece of paper. And I'm thinking, well, I'll show him. I'm going to fool him. I'm going to pass the final and maybe I can pass the course. Maybe I'll get a C. Because I had like 2 C's and maybe 3 C's in my other classes. And I'm thinking, all right, maybe I can get 4 C's and I can stay in school, get through probation. Well, sure enough, I show up at the exam. I got my piece of paper there, and I've got all these little notes on here of everything I've ever learned, and it didn't matter because it wasn't a BS kind of write an essay on this, answer true or false, or pick 1 out of 4, whatever, multiple choice. It turns out that he's actually got these kinds of exam questions like Johnny's got blue eyes, Francine has green eyes, what color eyes are the children going to have? And even though I had written down all the formulas for all this stuff, I didn't know how to apply the formulas to the stuff. And I ended up flunking the test and flunking the course. Now I flunked that course, and because I put all my effort into that course, to the final exam for that, I didn't put enough effort into the other ones to where I had a chance to get all C's and maybe a B. And I'm not well, and my body hurts, and I'm exhausted. I'd stayed up so many hours studying for the science test. I have nothing left for the rest of my courses, and I end up getting 2 C's, a D, and an F. The first semester I was wrong. I was a C, 2 D's, and an F. So now I've gone from a 112 to a 114. Grade point average for the year, 1.3 or 1.13, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's so close. It's so far away from being allowed to stay in school. And I didn't know that. I pack up my bags and go back to Pennsylvania, and I didn't know that. And sure enough, the letter comes from school, and I open the letter, and I'm hoping that I got that 3 C's and an F. I knew I just got an F. And that maybe kept me in school, and sure enough, it did not. And I was angry, I was hurt, I was afraid. It was a complete, there was nothing in that year that was enjoyable. There was nothing, there was no part of my college education for the first year that was there anything like semblance of, I met some nice guys, and I lived in the dorm with Marv Hubbard, who went on to become a professional football player, but he wasn't my friend or anything like that. I'm trying to think of any positive, fun experiences from that year. If there were very few. And so I flunked out of school, and now I've got to tell Mom and Dad that I flunked out of school, which is not going to go well. I have 3 sisters, by the way, that are all, I think they all finished college cum laude and Dean's List. So this isn't good. This is not good. I'll tell you more about the story, about what happens after the story. Well, I'll tell you the one part. I went to Muhlenberg College for summer school to try and get a couple of decent grades so I could get into another college for when most people were starting their sophomore year, and I was restarting my freshman year. And but there's more stories about that, but I'll save that for another story.